Hello and welcome to CityBeat inside Palo Alto. I'm P.A. Moore. We've got a great show lined up for you today. We're going to see our new police chief sworn in. We're going to meet the mayor and learn about Shop Palo Alto. And we have our regulars, the History Corner, Working for You, and lots more. Do stay with us.
On May 19, 2003, Lynn Johnson was sworn in as the 8th police chief of the Palo Alto Police Department. CityBeat was there and brings you some excerpts from the ceremony.
I, Lynn Johnson.
I, Lynn Johnson.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
The Charter of the City of Palo Alto.
The Charter of the City of Palo Alto.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States.
That I will bear true and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States.
The Charter of the City of Palo Alto.
The Charter of the City of Palo Alto.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
Without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties I am which to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank Joe Huber for swearing me in today. I've always had the highest regard for Joe's integrity and your dedication to public service, and it meant a lot to me that you could do that this morning. As I've been thinking about my comments today, a lot of ideas have come and gone. It wasn't until a friend of mine posed a question to me that I finally decided what I'd say. He asked me if I really knew what I was doing by accepting the position of police chief at a time when one day police employees are praised and the next day they're criticized. When the whole issue of terrorism and homeland security are uncharted territories that those of us in law enforcement never thought we'd have to face. When the community is more tense and fractionalized than it has been for many years. When there's general mistrust of government. When fewer of the city's police officers than ever before live in the city of Palo Alto. And when the majority of them commute from significant distances. And when the city's financial situation is the worst it's been in a long time. He told me I was crazy, and I should probably actually be getting ready to retire. I'd be dishonest if I didn't say his question gave me pause. But my answer was not too long in coming. I could tell you my decision to accept the position was because after 28 years of working hard to make this community a better place, I still have the passion and the commitment to do more. I could tell you that becoming the police chief of Palo Alto has been my goal and dream for at least 10 years. I could tell you that when it comes time that I announce my retirement, I'll have to pay a very big fine at my Kiwanis Club, and I'm not ready to do that yet. These were all certainly considerations, but the truth of the matter is that my decision was based upon the men and women in this organization who epitomize the department's core values of integrity and honesty, consistency and fairness, creativity and innovation, positive attitude, teamwork, strong work ethic, and dedication.
Now, one last thing. Lynn, I heard that you moved out of your office last week, but you forgot one thing.
Well, I know what this is. Where's his area?
Captain Torrin Fisher, you've been with the police department quite a while, and you know Lynn Johnson. So how is this going to impact our relations with the community?
Actually, I believe Lynn will be quite an asset to both the department and the community. She's been here 28 years. She knows the community well. She knows the employees of the organization. And I believe both the employees and the community understand her desire to have the best police department available. And she'll do everything to meet that objective.
Our previous mayor, Gail Woolley, how do you feel about Lynn Johnson and her new appointment as chief of police for Palo Alto?
I was very pleased with the appointment. That's why I decided to come today to be here at Lynn's ceremony. When I was on the council, I got to know Lynn. She was always a very practical sort of person, very reasonable sort of person, and worked very hard. So I'm delighted that she is our new police chief.
I'm with Tom Merson, former captain in the Palo Alto Police Department. How do you feel about Lynn Johnson's new appointment today?
I feel great about Lynn's appointment. Lynn is a superlative person, absolute maximal integrity. She'll do always what she feels is best for the city, for the employees. She's great, and it's long overdue.
Chief Johnson, how do you feel about Steve Young showing up at your ceremony?
It was amazing. I've never been more surprised in all my life. It was truly amazing.
And do you really have this cutout of Steve Young in your office?
He's been in my office for probably 6-9 months at least.
Well, how nice that your roommate showed up in person.
Absolutely. Oh, it made my day.
John Ballard is Public Works Supervisor, and we're here looking at the process of pouring concrete. John, I know that you do sidewalk repairs. How does that process start?
Generally, it starts with a call from a resident complaining about the condition of the sidewalk in front of their house. And I go out and do inspections, and we determine what repair will be done or none, and we take it from there.
And tell me, what's the criteria for when a sidewalk needs repair? You must have certain standards.
Of course. For the in-house crew that I direct, our standards are that sidewalk will be replaced when it's 6 inches lifted and 20 linear feet. And if it's anything less than that, we can do temporary repair using asphalt. We can do grinding if it's 1 inch or less, and that's our criteria.
Okay, so now I've got a sidewalk, it's lifted 6 inches, you bring your 4-man crew out here, and then what happens?
Oh, then when the fun starts. We determine the area that's going to be removed, and we paint it in white paint, mark out the border. We call underground service alert so the utilities company can come and mark the work, anything that's underground, so we don't damage anything.
Let me stop you right there. That's what that USA means.
Exactly. USA, underground service alert.
Okay.
Utilities are required to protect their pipes, electric lines, everything, and we don't want to damage them and cause people outages of any kind. So we call them first, they mark it, and then we try to miss it. Doesn't always happen, but that's what we try to do.
Sure.
Then we do demolition, which is come out with a hydraulic hammer and break the concrete and remove it, dig out all the base material, cut the tree roots, which most people are very upset about that we're cutting the tree roots, do the removal, grade everything, put back new base rock, build the forms, place the concrete, finish it like they're doing today. Then the street gets cut and the asphalt gets repaired, and any restoration work to the private property side also has to happen during this construction process. People in Palo Alto have lots of different kinds of driveways, entrance walks, block walls, and very expensive, very well done, and so this crew has to match whatever we remove and replace. So it's very complicated. Not really technical complicated, but it takes a long time.
The issue about cutting tree roots, since that does get into some controversy, how is that determined?
Basically, we coordinate very closely with Dave Sandage.
Okay.
And in the tree section. The whole
Dave
tree
Sandage is the city's arborist for city trees.
That's correct.
Okay.
We're working on city property. We don't deal very much with private trees.
Okay.
Very seldom do private trees cause a damage to our sidewalks. We have, over the years, 11 or 12 years now, sort of have an understanding what tree roots we can cut and what tree roots we can't cut. Redwood trees we don't touch. Dave Sandage comes out, or Gino, or one of the tree people will come out at every site that we have a concern about. We don't just arbitrarily cut trees. We do saw them all. We don't rip them out with a backhoe. They're actually all saw cut. And so we're very concerned about the trees in Palo Alto.
Well, that's good, because that certainly is an area of resident concern. So if a resident does have a question about their sidewalks and they feel that they've got that 6-inch lift or it needs some grinding, what should they do?
They should just simply give us a call. Give me a call at work, call the operations division, Public Works Operations, send me an email. Any way they feel they can call, email, write, any way they can communicate the damage. And it doesn't have to, don't wait till it's 6 inches.
Okay.
You know, if you have any concern about the sidewalk condition in front of your house or your business, give me a call, and I'll be glad to come check it out.
Super. Thanks so much, John.
You're welcome.
Steve Steigers with the Palo Alto Historical Association. Steve, we're standing in front of the HP garage, but cast your mind back to the 1930s and Frederick Terman. What do we need to know?
Frederick Terman was a professor at Stanford who was alarmed that many of his graduates in the electrical engineering departments were leaving Stanford and heading east for their jobs and careers. And he wanted to encourage more of them, or some of them at least, to stay in this area, establish companies, and bring prosperity to this area. And his first success stories were Hewlett and Packard, who established a company in the late 30s and went on, obviously, to bigger and better things. But we're here in front of the houses where they lived on Addison and the garage where the company more or less had its beginning.
And I understand the first product was something for a Disney movie, is that right?
Yeah, Fantasia. There was a product that they created that the Disney company bought eight of them, and they were assembled here in this garage.
Mm-hmm. And tell me, who owns the house now in the garage?
Well, a few years ago, HP went back and bought the property from private ownership, and in part probably because they are using the garage as a symbol in many of their advertising programs today.
So there's a historic landmark here, but what's the big picture? What does it mean to have a historic registered landmark?
Well, it's a program with standards at the federal level and organized at the state level to recognize structures that have significant historic importance for the community or the state or nationwide. And most of the structures in Palo Alto that have that recognition are recognized for their architecture, i.e. they're designed by famous architects or they're important examples of certain styles of architecture. This is an example of a historic landmark that's recognized for its economic rather than architectural standards. After all, it is a fairly ordinary one-car garage, but it's where HP had its beginnings, and HP is really the beginnings of the whole Silicon Valley.
And all of that history of Silicon Valley, how could a person find out more?
Well, we certainly have materials at the archives over at the main library at 1213 Newell Road that people could look at, and we would welcome them on Tuesday evenings or Thursday afternoons.
Super. Thanks so much, Steve.
You're welcome.
I'm with Dina Mosser, Mayor of Palo Alto. Mayor, it's tough being a mayor even in good times, but in bad times, what's it like to be mayor? What are your main jobs now?
Well, there's just a lot of questions about a lot of different issues, and unfortunately there's a lot of concern about where we're going to get the money to pay for the services and programs that we treasure so much in the community. But it is something that we do need to work through, and we're working hard on it.
And I understand part of what you've done is to develop some sort of outreach to the business community. Can you describe what that is?
Sure. Council members and staff members have been going out in pairs to small businesses and large businesses throughout the community, asking them what's working for them, what problems they're having, how's the economy affecting them, and what can the city do to help them be more successful in the community.
And so a number of the things that the city is doing are things like streamlining permits and things of that nature. But I understand that you've also started a Shop Palo Alto campaign. Can you describe that?
Yes, I can. It's in its incipient phase. We're doing a lot of brainstorming and trying to come up with some good ways to start. But it is a cooperative effort between the Chamber of Commerce, several small businesses, nonprofit agencies in the community, and also neighborhood associations. And we're coming together to try to raise consciousness about how important it is for residents to make their purchases in Palo Alto.
Now, that does lead me to one of those challenging questions about the trade-offs. We don't want big box businesses, we want small retail. So what does that really mean for, Joe Smith who lives on your local street?
Well, it means that we have a much nicer small town character, for one thing. But the other thing that it means is that we need to, as residents, take advantage of those small retailers and spend our sales tax dollars here. If we don't do that, then we're not generating the kind of income that's really critical to supporting the services and programs that we want to have.
So Shop Palo Alto really means sales tax revenue for the city. Is that the way it works?
That's absolutely right.
And what will residents be looking forward to? I understand there's going to be some sort of catchy ad campaign. Maybe you know something about that.
There is something coming along, and it will be a campaign based on rhyming. For example, buy a dinner for two, get a zoo. or buy something aesthetic, get a paramedic. And I'm looking forward to this. Hopefully the community can have fun with it.
Okay. Well, all of those are wonderful ideas, but maybe if there are some businesses or people who haven't heard about it, how can they get more information about Shop Palo Alto?
Well, there's two things, actually three things. They are certainly welcome to call me. Susan Arpan is our Economic Development Officer in City Hall, and she would be more than happy to help. And also the Chamber of Commerce is a good place to call.
Well, super. Thanks so much, Mayor.
Thank you very much. It's been fun.
David Stillman is a transportation engineer with the City of Palo Alto. David, traffic calming and transportation issues are one of the city's top 5 priorities, and stop signs are always considered as part of transportation issues. But what's the primary purpose of a 4-way stop?
The primary purpose of a stop sign, in fact, the sole purpose of a stop sign, is to assign the right-of-way at an intersection.
Well, now, when a resident asks for a stop sign, what all happens?
Well, we do an engineering evaluation of the intersection to determine if a stop sign is warranted or not. The type of information we gather will depend on if they're requesting a 2-way stop or a 4-way stop. But in general, we go out to the intersection, observe the site conditions, see if there are any visibility problems that exist. We also do traffic counts, pedestrian counts, speed counts. We'd like to know how fast cars are currently going through the intersection, and we also look at the accident history.
So all of those factors mean a study must take some time, and then, even then, what happens?
Well, then, once we look at all the factors, we make a determination on if a stop sign is warranted. If the intersection is currently an uncontrolled intersection, that is, there are no stop signs at any of the approaches, we'll consider putting in a 2-way stop. That's kind of the first measure. If the intersection already has a 2-way stop, we will look at putting in a 4-way stop, and the warrants for a 4-way stop installation are generally more stringent than they are for a 2-way stop.
And then who ultimately has the final decision when it comes to installing these or approving stop signs?
City Council ultimately has that authority. We will draft a resolution when we feel a stop sign is warranted, submit it to the City Council. Once they give their approval, then we can move ahead with the installation.
And for people, if they want more information about a stop sign in their area or what else would be involved, who would they contact?
They can contact myself at the Transportation Division.
Super. Thanks so much, Dave.
Thank you.
Summer's here and it's time to go outside, enjoy the nice weather. School's out, so you'll be using the parks a lot more. The recycling program expanded recycling in city parks, so most of the parks have recycling bins. So we'd like to ask you to recycle where you play. Last year, the California Department of Conservation estimated that 8 billion aluminum, plastic, and glass beverage containers were landfilled. 2.8 million plastic water bottles were thrown away every day. That's a lot of material that could have been recycled. And recycling helps us save energy, it helps reduce the negative impacts associated with material extraction and processing, and it also creates raw materials to make new products. So that water bottle that you recycle today could keep you warm next winter as a fleece jacket, and the aluminum can you recycle could turn into the bat that you hit your next home run on. So while you're at the park hiking, playing ball, picnicking, look around for a recycling container. They're usually located near the recycling or sports activity areas. And if you don't see one, take your recyclables home and recycle them. I like to carry a bag in my car and put the recyclables in there, so when I get home I just pull the bag out and empty it into my recycling bin. So this is Wendy Hediger reminding you to reduce, reuse, recycle, and buy recycled.
Ken Gonzalez is a fire inspector with the City of Palo Alto. Ken, we've had lots of late rain, which means weeds. What should residents know?
Well, with all the late rain we have had, the weeds will grow better, and so they do need to be abated before the summer comes and they dry out. Mm-hmm. And so disking them or mowing them and keeping them away about 30 feet from your structure is very advisable, and it's enforceable also.
When you say enforceable, that means somebody could complain or a resident could phone in that there are high weeds around. What happens when you get a complaint like that?
Well, we call them service requests, okay. And we encourage people to do that. Weeds are a nuisance and a fire hazard, so hopefully they will call 329-2184 for a service request, and we'll send an engine company out there to investigate. And if the request is valid, we'll ask the homeowner or property owner to abate those weeds. And we'll do it up to 3 times notice to abate the weeds. And after that, the county will come out and charge a fee for that.
Okay. So if I'm a resident and I really am not sure about all this, what's the best way for me to get information, or do you have some brochures or something that would help me?
Sure. We do have brochures at the Fire Prevention Bureau at the 6th floor, and some public information also at the fire stations. But one of the brochures we have is Firescape, landscaping to reduce your fire hazard, and also a brochure from the California Division of Forestry, which is how to make your home fire safe. We have these at City Hall on the 6th floor.
Super. Well, thanks so much, Ken.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Joni Reed is president-elect of Neighbors Abroad, which is a wonderful organization. Joni, tell us, what's the real purpose of Neighbors Abroad?
The purpose of Neighbors Abroad is to promote intercultural and international friendships and understanding and peace.
Well, that sounds like a great theme or mission to live up to. What are some of our sister cities?
We have 5 sister cities: Palo in the Leyte province in the Philippines, Oaxaca in Oaxaca, Mexico, Enschede in the Netherlands, Linköping in Sweden, and Albi in France.
Well, that's a wide range from European, very developed countries to lesser developed countries, the Philippines, Oaxaca. So you must have different sets of activities. So first, let's talk about what you would do in the less developed countries.
In Palo, we support a library and a computer center, and we work with Interplast. And in Oaxaca, we support a children's-to-children's health program called Niño a Niño, and an orphanage and a planetarium.
And Interplast, as I recall, has to do with plastic surgery, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then in the developed countries must be a very different set of activities.
Very different. We have student exchanges every year. 3 to 6 students spend 3 weeks in the sister city, and their counterparts spend 3 weeks here. We have adult exchanges. We have had exchanges, for instance, in France, chef's exchange, bike exchange, and in Enschede, a 24 student exchange last summer, and we provided homestays for the students. In Linköping, we've had adult exchanges, and Linköping friends came here to help us celebrate Linköping Day just this past April.
Wow, I like that chef's exchange part. I should be invited to a dinner. Now, I should be able to get involved with this, so show me how. You've got a newsletter here?
We have a newsletter called El Chisme. It comes out every other month, and we can also be reached by the City of Palo Alto website, because we are under the auspices of the City of Palo Alto, and we also have our own website. So it's a really vibrant, healthy, wonderful organization.
Oh, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Hi, Ken Kremisek at Palo Alto's Regional Water Quality Control Plant, here to speak with Bill Mix, the plant manager. Bill, this is a regional facility. I wanted to ask you some questions about what cities do we treat here at the treatment plant?
Yes, we have 6 partner agencies: the City of Palo Alto, the City of Mountain View, the City of Los Altos, the Town of Los Altos Hills, Stanford University, and East Palo Alto.
That's quite a few cities. Now, treating water from all those cities, the process must be very complicated. How does that process work?
Yes, this is a tertiary treatment plant, which means there are 3 treatment processes. The wastewater comes into our main pumping plant, and the first treatment process is primary sedimentation. Heavy solids settle in our large primary sedimentation tanks, and the floatable solids float. From there, the water is pumped to the secondary treatment facility. Our secondary treatment facility is a 2-stage treatment system. The first stage is fixed film reactors, and then the water goes into our aeration basins. After this, 90% of the material has been removed from the water. From the secondary treatment, we go to our third treatment process, which is filtration. The water is filtered through 18 inches of coal and 8 inches of sand. Chlorine is added for disinfection, and at the end of the disinfection pipeline, we add sulfur dioxide to destroy the excess chlorine before we discharge the water to the environment. The solids that we remove from the wastewater are incinerated. We dewater the solids, put them into our sludge furnaces, and dispose of the solids in that manner.
I see. And that creates a lot of opportunities for reclamation. So how does this affect our goals towards sustainability?
Well, sustainability, one thing is all of our ash that's produced in our sludge incinerators is shipped to the Central Valley, where it's used on farmlands for soil amendment, and high phosphorus content is a very beneficial use for the alfalfa fields. We also provide some water to the Palo Alto Golf Course and to Greer Park.
I see. So everything that we do here at the treatment plant affects the environment. Now, the residents of Palo Alto, what can we do, or they do, to help improve the process and lessen the impact on the environment?
The biggest thing residents can do is not discharge toxics down the drain. Bring all your household hazardous waste to our Household Hazardous Waste Day, the first Saturday of every month here at the treatment plant.
I see. And if they want more information about that or about how the treatment plant runs, how would they get that?
Yes, you can go to our website. You can get to our website through the City of Palo Alto's website, accessing the Public Works Department, and then click on the Water Quality Control Plant.
Well, thank you very much, Bill.
Family Resources is your link to recycling. Paths for biking, trails for hiking, childcare, street repair, volleyball, city hall, dog runs for dog walkers, support groups for need-to-talkers, softball leagues, soccer leagues, swimming pools, all sorts of schools, the Palo Alto Arts Center, assistance for the housing renter, recreation, information, public access cable station, ice skaters, mediators, senior care, food for you, children's theater, the petting zoo, volunteer opportunities in your community, hotlines, warm lines, bus lines, parks, libraries, May-Fate, healthcare, and the arts, neighborhood and civic groups, tennis courts, basketball hoops, services for the disabled, where to find a picnic table, multicultural and ethnic festivities, foreign language, accessibility, the Junior Museum, the people next door, emergency services, all this and much, much more. It's all here right on our website. You can rock the house when you click that mouse. Be a paragon. Come on and log on now.
Thanks for watching City Beat inside Palo Alto. I'm P.A. Moore. Special thanks to our videographer, Justin Atkin. And remember, if you have any questions or comments about the show, be sure to send them to the email address listed at the end of the credits. See you next time.